Hi everybody and welcome to the Royal Chess YouTube channel. My name is David Kaňovský and this is the second part of my serial about one of my most beloved chess players in the chess history, Akiba Rubinstein. In the first part I was showing you probably the most well-known game by Rubinstein, Rubinstein from 1907, with a beautiful combination with a queen sacrificing at the end of the game. And today I would like to show you another brilliancy from Rubinstein's games, but this time especially strategical brilliancy, and this is his game against Takacs from 1926. So in this game c4 was played as a first move, but after a few moves, after d5 here, we are of course in the main position of unaccepted queen's gambit. After queen, bishop g5, knight d7, and absolutely normal moves: e3, bishop e7, knight f3, castles, rook c1, c6, and queen c2. Black has played a6 in here, and okay, a6 is let's say quite a normal move because black is preparing for b5 in some moments, and after exchanging on d5, which happened in the game, a6 could be useful move for black because here one of the most important pawn structures has arisen on the board. And in this situation, the most usual active plan for white is the active play on the queen side, usually with playing b4, a4, b5, with an idea to make some weaknesses on the queen side, on the black queen side, and after that attack that weaknesses by white pieces. Of course, there are more plans for white in this position. The second main part is preparing e4, after which queen's isolated pawn on d4 is usually raising on the board. And another plan could be, let's say, something like knight e5, f4, and attack on the king side. But I think that's not so common, and active play on the queen side and e4 are really the two most usual plans in here. So a6 is aimed against that idea with the b4, a4, and b5. But on the other hand, black played this move quite early, and thanks to that, white can, let's say, exchange his mind a bit. And in this game, Rubinstein showed a very nice idea how to play actively on queen side, but without playing the plan with b4, a4, and b5, because the truth is that after rook c1, that's already quite tough to prepare b4, because if you play a3 and b4, still you cannot play b5 and you cannot play a4, because then the pawn on b4 would be hanging. So something like rook b1 would be needed, but after rook c1, playing rook b1 seems really weird, really unlogical. So let's see how Rubinstein managed to play this position, and let's say to use that a6 move to his hand. So after bishop d3, black continued in a typical plan of black in here. He played rook 8, and after castles, rook f8, which is absolutely typical maneuver of black knight. He's usually going to g6 or sometimes e6, and of course his opening black light colored bishop, and bishop usually goes to g4. And here white played rook e1, which is of course a very natural move, but also a very clever one, because here it seems that white is preparing e4, of course. So the second plan of white in this pawn structure, in this position. So black played bishop g4, of course threatening to take on f3 and make some weaknesses around white king. So white played knight d2, which is also very typical. And now still e4 is in the air, and also white could play something like f3 and then e4. So he would have a chance to take on e4 with his pawn. But of course white needs to prepare that a bit more, because sometimes knight on d4 could be hanging after exchanging on e4. So black played knight from 6 to d7. And of course this is also a typical idea for black in this pawn structure. I mean, exchanging these bishops. But here Rubinstein found a really beautiful idea. He have played bishop f4, occupying this nice diagonal, and of course black really wanted to exchange the bishops, so he played knight g5. But knight g5 is already, let's say, not a big mistake, maybe not a mistake, but now white has got a really nice continuation in here, which I believe black had no idea about it. And here it seems that white cannot avoid exchange of these bishops, because after bishop g3 black can play bishop h4, after bishop d6 bishop e7 is possible, of course, also maybe knight f6 and so on. But the most solid move here for white, and the strongest one, is h3, which is a beautiful idea, because thanks to this move white can avoid exchanging dark colored bishops in the position, and it is, as we would see quickly, really important for his active plan on the queen side. The problem is that now black cannot exchange on f4, because after e takes 4, bishop on g4 is lost. For example, after bishop e6, f5 is here, and of course after bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, f5, also black is just losing a piece, and he's of course also losing the game after this. So after h3 black has to play bishop h5, but white can play bishop h2, and this bishop is really very strong on this important diagonal h2 b8. And as we would see of course in the game, this bishop would be really a big pain for black in this position. After bishop g6 black decided to exchange another pair of bishops, so white colored bishops, but after exchanging white played queen b3, and now it starts to be clear what is the idea of Rubinstein in here. The idea is that thanks to this bishop it is really difficult to defend pawn on b7, because queen c7 is not possible, rook b8, queen b8, so what to play here? And even queen c8 is not possible because of typical tactical idea. Knight takes d5, and white is suddenly winning here. So after queen b3, queen b6 was played, but exchanging queens is in fact very good for white. So he played knight a4, activating his knight. Black exchanged, and after knight e6, knight e5 was played, and again black pawn on b7 is just hanging, and it is really difficult to defend it. And we can also see that in general, of course, knight is usually misplaced on the edge of the board, but here both white knights are on the a file, so on the edge of the board, but both of them are really very well placed, because one knight is attacking on b7, second knight is aiming for a very nice c5 square, and also sometimes b6 square, which is also important to mention, that it is a weak square thanks to that a6 move, which was played by black quite early, and this position is already very unpleasant for black. He has to play rook a7 here, which is quite a crazy move, but there is no other option. Without this move, you are just losing on b7, and after losing on b7, all the queen side is just hanging. And here king f1 was played. Even in this position, you can still make a very big tactical blow. So knight c3 seems like a very logical continuation of active play of white, with an idea of rook b3 and taking on b7. But after rook d4, it would be a horrible move, because suddenly you're just losing an important pawn. You cannot take the knight, of course, because rook on e1 is hanging with a checkmate even. So that's the reason why king f1 was played. After bishop d8, b4, f5, and now it is a bit early to play knight c5. So white decided to place his knight on a very nice square in this pawn structure, and it is d3, because from d3 knight can go to c5, but sometimes also on e5, so it is a really nice good square. And after king f7, just rook c2, bishop b6, bishop d6, and the problem is that white's position is clearly better, and black can only defend. Black has no active counterplay in here, no chance how to neutralize white's attack on b7, and after knight d8, knight c5 was already played. After taking, and taken, we can see that white's position is even better in here, because now white rooks can also attack pawn on b7. So black needs the third piece to defend his main weakness. So he immediately played king e7, and white just doubled his rooks, and king c8 is needed to be played. And here, of course, it is really clear that all of black pieces are really passive. Three of them are only defending main weakness on b7, which is of course really bad, because your pieces should be active and not passive and only defend. And white simply continued king e2 and king f3, and after rook e4, of course, it is important to think how should white continue in here, because okay, he's got really nice pieces, he's brutally attacking on b7, but okay, 3 pieces are attacking b7, 3 black pieces are defending b7. White has no way how to attack pawn on b7 with fourth piece, because there is no fourth piece on the board. So what to do? Of course, the answer is really clear in here. Thanks to the fact that black pieces are really passive on the queen side, and it is really a long road for them to the king side. White, of course, needs to open also another side of the board. So g4 was played, and after g6, rook g1, knight f7, and very nice idea h4. And it is clear that opening of the king side black cannot avoid, and after just several moves we can see that white rooks are immediately maneuvering from the queen side to the king side. And after rook h8, rook g8, it is just absolutely amazing that just about 10 moves ago white rooks were here on b2 and b1, and suddenly they're on g8 and h8. And in fact, white rooks are again attacking black queen side, but from the other side, not from the b file, but from h line, which is amazing. And black's position is just already lost in here, because you can see that his pieces are still absolutely passive, and there is no way how to save the game. After rook d7, rook knight b3, another very good point, because of course on a5 knight was placed really very well, but in fact his work on this square, his work on a5 was already finished. So it is needed to maneuver that knight elsewhere, and of course e5 is a very nice square for knight. So again, very useful d3 square is good for white knight in here. And after b6, b5, sorry, black finally was able to move with his b7 pawn, but it is of course too late. After ejecting on b6, another very nice square for knight occurred on the board. So a small change of plans in here. Knight c5 was played by Rubinstein, and after rook d6, simply a4, and we can see that black is already almost in a Zugzwang here, because he cannot play with a knight, he cannot play with his rook. Also another rook has only one and another one square in here, so it is really bad. And after rook c8, simply king g4. Of course it is important not to play king f4 in here, because after check on e6 and taking, suddenly black would be absolutely okay. So it is really important to play king g4 and avoid the check on e6. And after rook a8, king f5, king c7, simply rook h7, and black has to resign in here, because after playing king b6, taking on d8 is of course the most efficient and the quickest way how to win, because after taking on d8 there is a very nice checkmate on b7. So this is, in my opinion, absolute chess brilliancy, strategical brilliancy by Rubinstein. Very, very nice game in which black had just no chance after a beautiful idea of h3 move and hiding white's dark culture bishop on h2 and as I have mentioned, occupying of the diagonal h2 b8 was so important for white, and thanks to that black had too much troubles and too big problems with defending his main weakness on b7. So white was able to gain a very nice active play on the queen side, and after black had to defend on b7, pawn on b7 with almost all of his pieces, white opened another part of the board. Rubinstein opened king side, moved his rooks really quickly from b file to the king side and to the h line, and it was just such a bad position for black that he had no way how to save the game. So another very nice example from Rubinstein's chess games. I hope you enjoyed it and you like this game as much as I do. It's really one of my most favorite games, not only by Rubinstein, but of all games I've already studied. And I hope you are liking my videos, and thank you for liking Royal Chess YouTube channel. And of course, see you next time through another very nice game by chess genius Akiba Rubinstein. See you next time.